Hello, chat. Hello, check, check. Can you hear me now? Muted still or muted no? Can you hear me now? Yes, I had the mic muted from our last stream. We were goofing around and doing some stuff, so I muted the mic. Yes, all fixed. No problems. Everybody rest their weary heads. Shimode, welcome back. Diablo, thank you for the resub. 5 months in a row, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Shimode, my goodness, child. Where have you been? BRB phone call. Immediately she's gone. Just like that. She's back and she's gone. In and out. Thanks for showing up, but goodbye. I got to change the topic too. It says gaming. Whatever. Who games? What losers? I'm just kidding. 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 Hello. It's a joke. Everybody relax. It's a joke. Topic. Oh, my gosh. Could it take longer to find the word topic? I don't know why I went lot and sub. Sorry. As a good Canadian would say, I'm sorry. How were the games last night, Diablo? I didn't get a chance to sit back and watch you and Dingle play for very long. Looked like you guys were having fun, though. Well, for the most part, Dingle was getting his butt handed to him steady. Poor guy. The poor guy was not having a good match, eh? Let's see. Stream topics. Free from shame. That's what I want right there. Bam. Yes. So we'll give the people a few minutes. How was everybody's day? Did everybody... Can't even pretend to be silliness. It's been kind of a crazy morning for me already. Yeah, you guys. When I was there, you guys had like 2 or 3 top 10 wins right off the hop. So, I guess you can't complain too much. I mean, if I was playing, I mean, we'd be winning, but I mean, top 10s, you just take them where you can get them, I guess. I mean, so I made the mistake, Diablo. So maybe you can help me with this, because everybody seems to have music in their streams. I added music to my stream the other day. Because I suck. The truth is I suck, Diablo, okay? You just wanted me to say it. I said it. There. It's done. Yeah, now it's all muted in the VOD, and that sucks, you know? I don't want that, because I want to take my VODs and I want to put them on YouTube when I'm done. So if I put music in, it's going to get muted is what I'm understanding then, right? Got to use royalty-free stuff. Monster Cat from Twitch itself. Okay. Monster Cat. I'm going to write that down somewhere because I'm going to forget. And I'm not gonna put it in. Is it like a, oh, it's a 24/7 stream. Let me see if I can look him up right now. Look it up right now. Well, I got you here. And with your wisdom and guidance. Monster Cat, he says. Mute. You are muted? Yes, you are muted. Monster Cat. Monster Cat. Music and Performing Arts. Is that the one? Live. 24/7 music stream. And this is put on by Twitch, you said? What's verified? Yeah, I guess it would be. It has the commercials. Well, that's great. Well, hey. Followed. Bam. Consider yourself followed. It's only 765,000 followers. It's not so bad. Oh, look at the latest followers. Old Risk Immersed. Oh. How lucky is Monster Cat? But it's their FAQ as a music source that won't get muted. Oh, perfect. Is it decent music? I guess we can put it on and find out, huh? Oh my gosh. No. Yeah, sure, why not? We'll call it a sale. Paused. Consider yourself paused, buddy. Monster Cat. Always on the performing arts. Lots of variety. I hope so. Because I don't know that I could play that digital music all the time. Okay, so today, something was said in a stream before the new year that kind of made me think. I can't remember what it was. I don't remember now. Anyways, it had to do with shame. And I realized shame was something that I struggled with a lot. And I figured, well, if I struggle with it, odds are a lot of people struggle with it. So, hey, heck, why not? Let's talk about it. So that is the topic today, is the concept of shame. And also the concept that we can't overcome our past. And the kind of the what we do with our past. You know, is it just a thing where we, bad things happen to good people and, hey, it is what it is, it just, that thing happened and now I move on with my life? Or is it something where, am I supposed to feel bad about that thing that happened? In my case, things like, parents, divorce, abuse, any number of things, financial stuff and whatnot. Is it something where when those things happen, am I supposed to naturally feel a certain way? Am I naturally supposed to respond a certain way? Is it, automatic that when those bad things happen, whether they're my fault or not, that I'm supposed to be embarrassed? I guess that's part of this conversation is, what is shame? Why I'm cleaning my glasses in case you're wondering what the heck I'm doing down here. When these things happen and I am embarrassed by it, what am I supposed to do with it? How do I overcome it? And I don't know that there's any one answer to this, but I want to explore it. I want to talk about it with you guys. And I want to see what, kind of what your opinions are on it. Because it's a topic I've never talked about before. I'll be honest with you. Even with all of our students here, I've never had the conversation. Never sat down with our students and talked about shame. So this might be this conversation here might be the catalyst for future conversations with our students about shame. So I hope you embrace it as much as I want to today. And what's up, Dingleberry? What's happening, buddy? And I hope that when you guys embrace it, that it enables me to then go forward and use it with our kids here at Rise Above. So, Dingle, have you got your emotes yet, buddy? Because I keep looking, and I'm not seeing my emotes yet. I have a bunch of emotes pending, and my fear is I'm starting this new channel, and I'm not going to have any emotes because Twitch is slacking huge. Somebody said to me that the volume of people submitting emotes has like quadrupled or something like that over the past year, but the number of staff approving those emotes has not. That's basically the same level of staff. Now, how they know that, I don't know, but I hope to dear God we get our emotes soon because I really want my emote. I switched some emotes around because I have some popular ones that you guys wanted and that were like tier 2 and 3 that y'all didn't have access to, that I'm trying to give you access to because I want to be a nice guy. So that was it. I'm thankful because I almost switched all of my emotes. So I would have had no emotes for like a month. That would have been very bad. Very bad. Okay, so what's shame? Easy question, right? What is shame? Is it just that time when that thing happened and I'm just embarrassed to talk about it? Right? Is it something external? Is it something internal? Is shame something somebody gives to you? Is it shame something you give to yourself? I think that's a pretty big question right there. Grab my notepad here so I can make some notes while we're talking. Because I think that's one of the real questions that has to be answered in the conversation is, where does shame come from? Because I have some opinions, right? So shame. Where? I'm just writing it down. Where does it come from? Internal or external? Because I think that's the starting point. Honestly, I think if we're talking about this, the concept of shame, and you know, it's something that we carry, right? It's an emotion. I think at some point we have to figure out, okay, am I doing this to myself, or is like my dad making me feel ashamed? So here, I'll tell you a story. See if I can. I wrote it out so I wouldn't miss any of the parts. Let's see. Because I was a bad kid. And this is not necessarily my story, but it's something I would do. So I'll supplant me in here for now. So the question is, do you remember the first time you felt shame or heard the words shame on you? I can remember specific times vividly where somebody tried to put shame on me. And you've heard me talk about before this, the 8th grade teacher who said to me, I'm going to be a loser my entire life. That's shame. That's somebody shaming you, saying you're a bad kid. You're not valued. You're not worth it. You're always going to be, in her words, garbage, essentially. That's one of the ones that really sticks out in my mind. Another interesting one for me, from a shame standpoint, was in the little town we grew up in Canada, a little town called Essex. We used to go to the hockey arena. Hey, Ellie, what's going on? Yeah, Ellie. That was something my 8th grade teacher told me. Another thing that used to happen a lot was when I was a kid. Hey, welcome back, Shimode. We'd go to hockey. Hey, what's up? Exist. Glad you could make it. When I was a kid, we would go to hockey games. And at the hockey games, parents would get together, we'd talk, and the kids would run around and do all these crazy things. Yeah, it's nice to have Exist here, too. It's nice to see you popping in, man. And we'd go to these hockey games, and the parents would talk, and the kids would get into trouble and run around and do all kinds of stuff. And one of the things that used to just devastate me was when my mom wouldn't just gossip. She would gossip specifically about us. And I say us, I mean the kids, my brother and I. And she would proceed to tell the other parents, the other moms, about all of the bad things. What's up, Nemesis? Glad you could make it here, buddy. And she would tell all the bad things that we did that week. And it would just be mortifying. Like, why are you telling these people all of my dirty laundry? And I just remember feeling this shame, But this particular story, and again, I'm changing some things, so bear with me. It's not necessarily my story, but it's a concept of when do you remember the first time you felt shame or heard the word shame on you? So in Michigan here, there's a store called Myers. It's just a large grocery chain. It's like Walmart, right? And they had at one point in their life cycle bulk candy. So remember the place you could go, they had the big barrels, you could scoop bulk candy out, And he said, this guy that originally told the story says, I remember the time I was in that bulk candy section. And I did this all the time, he said. But one time when he was in the bulk candy section, a Meijer employee saw him in the bulk candy section where he used to always go. And he'd say, oh, Mom, I'm going to go, Mom, I'll go get you some milk. And so he would run off and he would go get the milk. But on his way back, he would stop and grab a handful of candy out of the bulk candy section. And he'd eat it while he was going back and forth to get the candy. And he would actually take a bag and put it in the bag and the whole 9 yards so it looked like he was buying it. And by the time he got back to his mom, he will have eaten all the candy and essentially stolen the candy. Well, on this particular occasion, this store employee watched him do it and followed him. And at one point, right after he ditched the empty bag, because he just finished eating all the gummy worms or whatever the heck it was he was eating, the guy grabbed him by the arm and said, shame on you. And then promptly escorted him back to his mom. And he said he'll never forget that moment because of the shame that he felt. Right? And then he goes home, and then his dad gets involved, and of course he feels shame twice. So shame can be as simple as, hey, I got caught doing XYZ. Or shame could be, hey, I don't like the way I look. Or I don't like the way I sound. Or something like that. I don't like my family. I don't like the home I live in. I don't like, Risk is doing good, by the way, Nemesis. Thank you for asking, buddy. Shame is essentially some form of guilt. Would you agree with that? That shame is a form of guilt? And and if not, because I'm not sure, is there a difference between guilt and shame? And because I think there's a difference. They're the same but different. So to me, guilt is the feeling that I did something bad. So stick with me for a second, because this is an important conundrum that we have to solve here today. So guilt and shame. Guilt is the feeling that I did something bad. Whereas shame, to me, is the idea that I am bad. You see the difference? Guilt is, I stole this pencil. Ooh, I can't believe I stole the pencil. I did something bad. Shame is, because I stole the pencil, I believe I am bad. You see the difference? To me, guilt can subside and go away because I forget that I stole the pen. Shame doesn't go away because it's inherent that I believe that I am a bad person. No problem, Dingo. You're okay, buddy. Guilt is this, to me, again, work with me here. Google it, would you, people? Guilt is this thing that I did something that is bad or wrong. Whereas shame is an emotion. It's deeper. This idea that, in capital letters, I am bad. And to me, that's a dangerous thought. And a lot of our kids come in here with the feeling or the emotion that they are bad. That they're not just guilty, or they don't feel guilt because they did something bad at school and they got expelled, or they did something that got them in trouble. Shame is something that is carried. It's a belief almost. What's that exist? What about good morals? Knowing that you did something wrong? Explain that a bit more. So you're saying it goes from guilt into shame because I stole the pen and I feel guilty I stole the pen, but because of my moral system, it then transitions over to shame, you think? And you start to believe that, inherently that I am either a thief or a bad person, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, depending on what that thing is that you're claiming your guilt or shame of. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Everything's great.
So I think that's.
Everything is awesome.
Thank you for the resub. So 4 months, buddy. Wow, that's awesome. So I think that's exists. That's a. Yeah, no problem, buddy. I appreciate the fact that you're even here. I think that that's a big part of the question is when does it go from so in a sense what we're saying exists is that it transitions from guilt to shame at some point. So you can start off as feeling guilty but no shame, but then your guilt would guilt then the transition be dependent on reoccurrence or the depth of that maybe? The idea that there's persistence. And we've talked about this idea of persistence before, right? It is, therefore I am. Everything around me is broken, therefore I am broken. Because I think that's this idea of shame. Guilt is not necessarily defeating, whereas shame is. And that's the tragedy in this, right? That's the scary part of the dangerous part of shame. I can feel guilty about eating this chocolate bar when I'm on my diet. But if I feel shame about it, it's just debilitating. It's like this, it's almost that give up feeling. Right? And I think that even if you have good morals in place, and this is where I'm struggling a bit, even if you have good morals, even if you have good morals, does it in some way mitigate some of the shame? Does it in some way instill in you that, yes, that is stealing the pen is a bad thing, but you are okay? Good morals can be changed. Yeah. Yeah. Depending on the situation. I agree. So I'll give you a scenario. And I've talked about this scenario before. And it's funny because this gentleman ends up becoming a friend of mine. Not a good friend, but just a friend of mine that I talk to regularly. So one day we get a call for a new student, and the young lady that is the student doesn't live with her parents. She actually lives with her grandfather. Yes, exist. I would agree with that statement. We'll come back to that in a second after the story. And so one day he calls. She gets expelled from school. She's going to come to Rise Above. And the day comes. They arrive. They walk in the front door. They're not in the building. 30 seconds. I'm greeting them at the door. And the grandfather, who is a pretty stout fellow. He's probably 6'5". And thank you, Shimon. And he promptly introduces his young granddaughter as, "This is my bad girl." To which I respond, "Whoa, let's change that for a second." I said, let's bring that down to, "This is my granddaughter, and her name is," let's not introduce her as my bad girl. Because again, the idea there is you're instilling a characteristic of the individual upon her. And it was clear that she was receiving that information from him verbatim. And she was just morally decimated, I would say. Emotionally decimated. And so the challenge for her was to overcome that. So, and that's a lot of what we did with her here. We ended up getting her to a point where she was doing work and had a job and the whole 9 yards. But long story short, sometimes it can be definitely an external thing, like a parent, grandparent that says, this is. Yeah, I agree exists. So, hey, what's up, Juice? Welcome back, buddy. Welcome in, I should say. In HMU, but if you could just speak English for us, that'd be great. Just want to have everyone join in the conversation. That's all. It's not that what you're saying is necessarily bad. I just want everyone to be able to reply and to be a part of that conversation. So the idea that you can feel guilt and shame and still have great morals, the answer to that is 0. And you can't rob somebody who is unrobbable. Congratulations, you're a winner. The idea there is you can feel guilty and have shame at the same time, I think. Even if you have good morals. That's like saying, just because I am fit and I go to the gym 5 days a week, I can never get sick. Correct me. That's my initial feeling with this conversation, is that you can be in the best home with the best parents and still be susceptible to shame. And I think in some cases more so. So shame is the emotion that I am bad. And that therefore, because I am bad, there's something wrong with me, essentially. Something that needs to be fixed, something that's broken. And that's the danger with shame, is that the reality is there's something in your mind when you feel shame that needs to be overcome. And the challenge there can be catastrophic. Take, for example, the young lady that's going to be coming back tomorrow, and I hope to have her on stream, guys and girls. Jimode, you missed part of this conversation, and I hope that we're able to speak candidly about it sometime in the coming weeks. But I have a young lady coming back to Rise Above tomorrow that I am super excited about. She was with us over a year ago, was successful within our program, but unfortunately, when she left our program, got caught up in some stuff that was not beneficial to her, and got caught up in some human trafficking stuff, and it was actually quite scary and very dangerous for her. And so thankfully, after I think 8 months, we found her and were able to rescue her from all of that nonsense. But she's back, and she's actually coming back to Rise Above tomorrow. So I can't wait to see her for the first time. I haven't seen her yet. I've only talked to her on the phone, and can't wait to give her a big old hug, and then hopefully see if she's willing to come and talk on stream and just to share hope with others about situations and those sort of things. Because I think that, when she's emotionally ready, obviously, but I think it's just there's so much value in what she has experienced for other girls, particularly, that can easily be caught into this type of situation. Because her situation is a direct result of shame. She did not feel as though, it is crazy exist. It's devastating to think that a young lady that had lost all hope and felt that she was worth nothing could get caught up by a predator like that and swept away. And the tragedy is that she tells us that she got her value when she was with us, that she really felt loved and cared for when she was with my wife and I here at Rise Above. But when she left here, she fell into the same traps that she was in before, and I think that's what kind of got her in trouble. And this prince, this knight in shining armor, came along and suddenly said, how amazing she was, and I want to do everything for you and make you feel special, and blah blah blah. And of course, what young lady doesn't want to hear that? And swept her away to a very, very dangerous place. So let me see. I'm just going through my notes here. I just want to make sure I'm not skipping stuff. But yeah, shame is my story. So you need to know, growing up for me was hard. And again, a lot of it, and I talked with that grade 8 teacher, but a lot of it was similar to that in the sense that I grew up believing that I was a quote unquote bad kid. And I think that's where my desire to work with this population comes from, is the idea that I don't think anybody should have to suffer through that level of torment for as long as I did. So the sooner we can get, I should say, in front of these kids to help convince them that they are of value and that they don't have to be whatever it is that they've been labeled. We often talk about ropes and how the things that are said to us very often tie ropes to us that prevent us from going forward from whatever our pain and hurt was. So whether it was an event at school that got us expelled, or a life story or family history or whatever the case is, I think very often those things are tied to us. And our goal when they come here is to get those ropes cut as much as possible. That the challenge that as soon as you start believing in the shame, in the that I believe that I am a bad person or that I am broken, what I believe what starts happening is you start believing that you're just not good enough, and it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Does everyone know what I mean by a self-fulfilling prophecy? What does that mean to you guys? If I say to you, that was a self-fulfilling prophecy, what does that mean? Shimon, I'm not sure when that one's going to be, kiddo. It's probably going to be in a couple weeks. I assume she's going to be back while you guys are typing what you think a self-fulfilling prophecy is. But she should be back this week. I'm going to give her a couple of weeks. So I'm guessing end of January, maybe first week of February, once she's comfortable and knows that she's safe here, right? You think you say something about yourself and then it comes true, usually negative? Yeah, I would agree with that to some. Yeah, no, I'll definitely message you when we know for sure. I'll make sure I give everyone lots of lead time because I think there'll be lots of people that want to get in on that one. But yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy tends to be this thing that, we start to interfere in such a way that we make things happen to us. I just feel like I'm sick. I'm getting sick, and then suddenly you start acting like you're sick. And then if you don't always get sick, but then when you do, you're like, oh, see, I told you, I got sick or whatever the case is. And a lot of times when you perceive something about yourself, like I'm a bad person or I am not capable. So let's take I am not capable as a good example. If you have never touched a car in your life to change the oil or change brakes, and you say to yourself, I can't do that. This is a prime example of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Guess what's never going to happen? You are never going to change the oil or the brakes on your car. Self-fulfilling prophecy. I can't change brakes. Therefore, I can't change brakes. Why? Because you've convinced yourself you are not capable. Therefore, you will never try. It's the same idea when I say to myself, I am a bad person. Every time something bad happens to me, and stuff bad happens to all of us, all of the time. Remember this. We live in a broken, fallen world. Bad stuff happens constantly. So if you say to yourself, I am a bad person, every time something bad happens, or if you say to yourself, I'm not good enough, if every time something happens where you don't complete a task or you don't do it to the capacity with which you think somebody else is capable of doing it, you're going to say, see, I told you I'm a bad person. That's why that bad thing happened, because I'm just a bad guy. It's just meant to be. Or when you go to change the brakes for the first time because you've never done it and you're trying it for the first time and you don't put the brakes on properly the first time, you're going to throw the screwdrivers down and the wrenches and everything else. Just see, I told you I should have never tried this because I can't do it. Well, no, it's your first time. Of course, you're going to maybe bang your knuckles off of something, or you're going to put the brake on backwards or something to that effect. There's a reality to that. It's not necessarily indicative, though. The reality is the first time you do something different, it's going to be hard. That doesn't make it impossible. Can all of us be NHL hockey players? No. But most of us, the vast majority of us could probably play hockey if we really set our minds to it and practice a little bit. Same with sewing. Same with reading, public speaking, any number of things, running. lifting weights. Someone made a joke about the whole lifting weights thing, that I couldn't lift it, what you lift if my life depended on it. You could, if you did it 5 days a week for the next year and a half. I could definitely get you to the point where I'm at. Give me a year of your life and 5 days a week, I'll get you there. But it's just like anything else. If you say to yourself, I can never do it, you'll never do it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So just as you said, Shimon, it's usually negative. Not always, but usually. Some people could just get dumb luck. Their self-fulfilling prophecies are good. But what ends up happening is you end up then having regret. So you say to yourself, oh, I can't change brakes. You try to change the brakes and you hurt yourself, or you put them on wrong and you say, see, I told you. And then what happens is you regret actually trying. And you swear to yourself, I am never going to do that again. And you just guaranteed failure. So it goes from a struggle, meaning sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, to an absolute failure like that. It turns into something that you go from sometimes winning to never winning. And it's catastrophic. When you get to the point where your struggle turns into regret, yeah. That's where our kids, when they come into Rise Above and they have that moment of struggle on the first day where they're sitting down doing homework for the first time or doing schoolwork or classwork for the first time, and they're struggling with the answers and taking good notes and that sort of stuff, it is critical that we sit with them for that first day or two and have them have what we call micro wins. Little wins on little things constantly, just time after time, for like a good day or two, where, oh my God, I did that whole class by myself. Wow, I actually completed the quiz and I passed. Wow, that's amazing. Or I failed the quiz the first time, but the second time I retried it and, oh yeah, look, I can do it. Those are the things that we do early on to help ensure the long-term success, that breaking of the cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy and that shame that these kids feel about their ability to do well. It really does become a pit, And I have this phrase that says, when in hole, stop digging. And this is something that many people struggle with. When they're in trouble or when they're struggling in life, they just have a hard time, not digging themselves a deeper hole to sit in. So I want to switch topics for a sec because I want to talk about two things. One, Jemode, also, the whole nursing thing, amazing. Love it. I love what you're doing. I think that's amazing. The other thing that I want to talk about is Morgue Meme. For those of you that don't know, Morgue Meme today's the first day of her internship. And she's really nervous. So if any of you are of the praying mindset, she asked for prayer yesterday. And I told her that we would be praying for her today. So please keep that in mind as you go. And when you see her tonight, please, when you see her in chats and in different things, because she said she would be around, please get over the moon excited for her. Encourage her, let her know that we're all thinking and praying for her and want the best for her as she starts this new chapter, because she's officially done her master's. She's just got to do this internship. So Jemode, we're really excited for her in the next chapter. This whole speech therapy thing is something I'd love to have as an expertise within our organization to help some of our students overcome some of their challenges that they face. So anyways, so the idea here is that maybe you've got something in your past, so back to the subject, that something that you're not proud of. Now, we all have things that those ropes that I was talking about that are tied to us that hold us back, things that you've done or ashamed of. And I would encourage you, if anyone wants to to chat about it here. I'd love to kind of talk about those things because, I mean, for myself, I mean, I've got some pretty substantial ones, like some pretty substantial break and enters that I did as a kid that I got caught for. That, I mean, I just think to myself how catastrophic those could have been had I not, had I not been in a better place to get over those challenges. The fact that I'm not the only one, and I know that I'm not the only one that made those mistakes is important to know that I'm not alone, and it really helped me to grow as a young person. And thankfully, the military was the right time, right place for me, and it really helped to save my life from a just absolute pit of despair. Because otherwise, I would have. Because when I got arrested as a young person for the crime that I had committed, I would have to say that it was probably one of the lowest, most demoralizing, embarrassing moments of my life. It put me in a spot where I thought there was no way I could ever recover. It put me in a spot where I thought that my family was going to hate me, that my best friend's family was going to hate me because my best friend was involved in the incident. And where I then saw the community as a group that was going to hate me, because I was part of my repayment to society was community service work, where I had to go and paint the fence at the pool. And it was the middle of summer, and I had to paint the fence at the pool while everybody was swimming. The whole community, the whole town is at the community pool swimming, and I'm painting the fence. And the whole time I'm painting the fence and watching other people swim, the hundreds of people, I'm thinking the whole time, everyone knows what I did. And I was mortified. I remember being embarrassed, out of my mind, where I tried to find every excuse under the sun to leave the fence. I needed more paint. My roller was broken. It was lunchtime. I was hungry. I had to go to the bathroom. Anything I could to get away from that fence and wait for a time that when everyone was gone. Can I go paint a different fence? I just remember the absolute shame that I felt in that, and the idea there is it consumed me. It absolutely wrapped my life in a fear and guilt mindset, and I thought I'd never be welcomed back, or never be accepted here again. And to this day, it's still a part of my psyche in the sense that I don't want to go home. I don't want to go back to my hometown. I see it as something I've overcome. That is where the bad me was, if that makes sense. And that this separation that I've created is this safety net to that if I go back there, somehow, some way, there will be a problem. Yeah, Shimon. I mean, so for you, why do you think you hate going back to your hometown? If I can ask that question, and if you'd be willing to engage that conversation, because I think that's an important thing that I'm still wrestling with. That I'm still trying to figure out what is it really about. Because I think if I went back to my hometown and my old friends saw me, I think they'd be like, "Wow, what the hell happened to you?" In a good way, right? Because they think of the kid that they knew was not the greatest kid. I was troubled, to say the least. And I think they'd be surprised to know what I've overcome in these years. And considering all the labels that people had placed on me and what people thought I would be capable of was interesting, or would be interesting, I should say. So, part of it's reliving the past. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think that's a big part of it for me too. Afraid of what I might bump into. I don't know that I want to bump into certain things. Yeah, kind of the demons in the closet type thing necessarily, but also the shame of certain things. Because when our identity is blurred by something we did, or by something that was done to us, because we haven't even talked about this whole idea of what's been done to us yet. We're still on the process of talking about the things that we've done. You start to embrace a negative view of yourself. And we talked about morals earlier, but the idea is you start to adopt shame as a belief system. And I'll talk about some things. I got some things written over here that I'm going to talk about here in a second, but some ways that you might be able to relate to that I particularly think about. The most shameful moment of my life is when I fell from a front flip because I hit a puddle on your bike. It was right in front of my. Yeah, that's and you think that's silly. It's I fell off my bike, but the reality is, it depends on Shimon, perfect. The embarrassment factor of it all. Right? There's the power of embarrassment is. Phew. I just had a conversation with a young lady this morning about some things that we have to do over the next couple of days, and I think a lot of it is she's afraid of looking like a failure in some way. Whether it's not having enough schoolwork done or emotional control or whatever the case may be. She's a super bright girl. She's a great personality. And I'm stuck on what to do to help her get over this hump that she's on. And I think the sad part for her is we're the only ones that have been willing to work with her long term and look past some of the challenges. So let's talk about, and again, I want to come back to this idea of things that have been done to you versus things that you did. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to highlight it here so I don't forget it, because I'll forget it if I don't. So here are some ways that our lives can be impacted. And again, you may or may not relate to this stuff, but if you do, I'd love to talk to you about it. When I'm stuck in a prison of shame, so when I have this shame thing hovering over me all the time, I'm vulnerable to perfectionism. I know somebody like this. Because here's what we do. We try to silence the shame by living error-free lives. Right? Because if I can do more, if I can be better, achieve more, succeed more, then I'll mask the real emotion that's driving my life, this shame. Right? It's an exhausting thing. We mask our shame by pretending that everything is perfect. This is my challenge with church. Everyone's masking their shame, their unhappiness. Oh, everything's perfect. Oh, hey, Jim, how are you? Oh, things are great. Couldn't be happier. He's not telling you he just lost his job. His wife's cheating on him. Everything's perfect. There is no trouble. But the reality is, the trouble is when things don't go right in that life, in that world, everything falls off the tracks. It's catastrophic. So listen, first one, shame breeds perfectionism. It makes people vulnerable to wanting to be perfect, to strive for more. And I'll tell you, this is my brother, whom I haven't spoken to in many years. Not because I haven't wanted to, because he refuses to speak to me. Ever since I was a young boy, teen, preteen, I saw in my brother and I heard from my brother this desire to be better, to do more, to achieve success beyond what was expected, and has done nothing but that. And in the process of doing so, has sacrificed everything else to achieve it. Has achieved money, has achieved jobs, all that stuff, but has lost everything in the process of doing so. So the pretending everything's perfect, yes, I'm the best, sacrifices everything. Here's a second way it's catastrophic. When you're stuck in the prison of shame, because I am critical of myself, I'm critical of others. So the first one is I strive for perfection to kind of mask the shame that I feel. The second one is that because I am so critical of myself, I then become critical of others. And if you think about this, we all know these people. There is somebody out there like this. Truth. Think about it first. Take 2 seconds. Think about it. I'm critical of myself, therefore I'm critical of others. You've heard the phrase, hurting people hurt people. Because I am hurting, I naturally hurt people. Again, hurting people hurt people. It's true. Critical people or mean people, we all know mean people, aggressive people, judgmental people, are often the most insecure people. Because they see their own faults mirrored in other people. When you don't like who you are, you struggle to find things you like in others. Because you don't like you, you tend not to like others. Because you're seeing yourself in them. And it makes you angry. It makes you come across as somebody who's angry. Why are you always yelling? Why can't we just have a conversation? This is the language that usually comes out. If you think you know somebody, you know this person. 100% you know this person. We all know that person that walks around nitpicking everything. It's like, oh my gosh. In the same way, we all know the perfectionist. We all know that person that's striving for, and there's nothing wrong with striving. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do better. It's not what I'm saying. We need people in organizations who are critical thinkers. But it's that whole idea of constructive, right? And the third one that's most common is the use of self-defeating thoughts. So as a way to cope or escape. This one's probably, I would say, the most common that I see, particularly in our students. We don't see many of the first one from a student standpoint where they're wanting to be perfectionists. We will often see a student who is critical and that struggles to be around other people that have faults. Like, I just can't be in that room because they're driving me crazy. Well, there's a reason why they're driving you crazy, because you're seeing yourself in them, and it hurts. And I think this one is the one that most of our students fall into, and that most of us will also fall into. It's the use of self-defeating thoughts as a way to cope or escape. What most often will happen is when we see a problem in front of us or when we have a decision to make, we will then most often think of the worst possible outcome. Oh, I can't change my brakes in my car because if I do, I don't know that I'm good enough, because if I change the brakes in the car, I could be driving down the road and the brakes could fall off and I could kill my family. So I'm just not going to do that. See, because I know I tried it that one time and I put the brakes on backwards. I told you I wasn't smart enough. I knew I couldn't do it. I knew it was going to fail. So if I sit down and I do this quiz and I failed that other quiz, so that means I'm probably going to fail this quiz. Because I'm not smart enough. I've done this before and I didn't do it. I failed. I've tried to do notes. I can't do notes. They're messy, and I don't take the right notes. Because my grandpa said one time that I just don't write neat, and I'm just not smart enough to do this. I can't do this right. This is the half empty glass person. My glass is never half full, it's always half empty. And as a result, it's this person that always sabotages their own opportunities, their own relationships, their own, all that stuff. And this person never reaches their full potential. It's hard, Asia Mode. When you're this person, it's exhausting. You never reach your potential because you never think you have potential. And I'll be honest with you, this is me. This is the way this is why I believe I'm getting to this point now in my life, because I'm just now escaping the torment that was my past. And that's why I've said it to you guys 1,000 times. That's why I find this stream so great. Because you guys are journeying with me. You guys are helping me to escape this. You guys are helping me to see my potential. At the same time, I'm helping you. I pray. I'm helping you see your potential. And honestly, this is one of the hardest ones. This is the one that's most heartbreaking. Because this is people doing it to themselves before anybody's even interfered. It's not somebody saying to you, you're not good enough. It's you saying to yourself, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I feel like that old mentality and all the negativity that used to be spoken over me is why I'm just pursuing. Yeah. And thankfully you're catching it at 27. I was 30, almost 39. It's so awesome to hear about you, Morg Meme, and all these other people that are doing these amazing things, whether it's late in life or in the prime of your life. The fact is, you're doing it. That you have not given up or lost hope, and you're doing it, is what's spectacular. And every day here, that's what I'm trying to do with these kids is to help them see that what the power of shame has over their lives. Right? I want to help them understand the value of trying. Because the vast majority of them have just stopped trying. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not even going to show up to the meeting because I know I'm going to get to the meeting and I'm going to fight with them. Well, how do you know? You haven't been there yet. Right? It's hard. It's really hard. It's for even the strongest of us. It's very tapping. For me, I have the blessing of scripture and prayer and those sorts of things. And I look at scriptures, and embrace words like, don't be afraid. You'll not suffer in shame. You do not fear disgrace. You will not be humiliated. You will not, you will forget the shame of your youth. These are all scriptures that I now rely on. And it's hard when we as adults who are in control, because we're in control, right? We're the decision makers. Whether it's for our kids, our household, our places of work. We have to be these people who have it all together, who, can make the all-wise, all-powerful decisions that impact everybody. So, but let's get back to probably the toughest conversation, which is by something you did or by something that was done to you. So take this young lady Dingle, nobody's perfect at all, man. And that's the reality. And I think that's where a lot of the people that come in feel as though, they're in a place where, well, nobody can be as bad as me. Or nobody's as broken as, as I am. You just haven't experienced what I've experienced. So you can't know. And I think of this young lady that's coming back to school tomorrow. And, what am I even going to say to her? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to give her a big old hug. I'm probably going to cry. I'm going to tell her how much I missed her and how glad I am that she's back. But what do you say to an 18-year-old girl that just went through frickin' hell? Dingle, not to pick on your phrase for a second, but I can't just say to this girl, nobody's perfect. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. She's too far down the hole. She knows that nobody's perfect. She's endured nobody's perfect. Right?
Okay. Everything's great. Everything is awesome.
Thank you, Uncle Jim. Appreciate you, buddy. Really appreciate you coming back and recommitting for another 4 months. Or for 4 months. Not for another 4 months. Oh, hopefully another 4 months. But for 4 months. Means a lot to me and to the channel. But I think that we really need to not overlook the difference between something that I did, break into a building, feel bad for it, versus somebody who has been taken advantage of. And Uncle Jim, I can't agree with you any more than I do in this moment. It is so good to have Jimode back. It has been a while, and we all missed her very much. I was literally just saying that to somebody the other day, and poof, she popped back into the Air Max channel. I seen her little green light beside her name, and I was like, ooh, somebody's here that I want to see. I haven't hugged you since forever. That's awesome. And Solf, I think you might have the answer there, buddy. I think really that's all I can do with this young lady when she comes back tomorrow. It's just give her a big old hug. So give me 1 second. I got to answer a text message here from my. Give me 2 seconds, folks. I'm going to come right back. All right. I'll be right back. Hey, sorry about that. Sometimes things be happening. So I mean, get back to what I was saying. What do you say to this girl? And I think, Solf, I think you hit it right on the head, earlier when you were saying that maybe it is just, thanks, Dingle. Maybe it is just, hey, kiddo, I'm here, we love you, and just know that we'll always be here. I think that's the first and only thing that we can do. So Jamode, real quick, before I lose this track, are you done school and everything, and you're full time working, or is this a part time thing? What are you up to right now? What's the next step for you? Yeah, I would agree with you, Dingle, and that's what I was saying. I was agreeing with Solf, was this idea of I haven't hugged you since forever, and I think that it's a very nonverbal thing, that we have on our calendar this week, something called sitting Shiva. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that term or not. It's a Jewish term that it's something used for mourning. Like when somebody suffers great loss, they're going through mourning, is as a person who is helping that person go through the mourning, you just sit with them and you be quiet. You don't say anything. You don't, what's the word? You don't try to do anything out of your own effort. You just make yourself available to them. And I think that's probably the best thing that we can do for her at this point, is just be available to her. Make a commitment that we're going to be there every day and help her through whatever challenges she faces. So, yeah. Because I don't know that I can. My brain can't wrap itself around severe physical abuse. Having been abused before, on a couple of different occasions, I have a hard time thinking about something that's been abused for sustained periods of time. And I just don't want to say or do the wrong thing. You're working right now, but not in nursing. School actually starts on the 22nd. Gotcha. It's only for 5 weeks. It's for the CNA certification. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Then once you finish that, start working. Go to the LPN. Nice. So you're going to do the LPN. That'll be fun. Yeah, Jamode, I think you're spot on. I'm gonna let her, and that's why I say I think she'll be open to this conversation, coming on and talking about her time at Rise Above, and I'll let her kind of lead that if she decides to have that chat with me. So, but yeah, I think that in general, she's always been really good with Veronica, my wife, and I, in talking about life and being very candid with us. So I don't perceive that has changed at this point based on the phone calls that I've already had with her. She already seems very open to it. So, oh yeah, and like I said, it depends what where you're working and stuff like that. But I know a lot of employers around here in that field, anyways, help their employees take the licensing and the program, get the programs and all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of exciting. Are you confident that they'll help you pay for that, or is that just something you're hoping for, or? Because that's a pretty significant role. Like that can be very rewarding. It can be very exhausting too. I mean, nice. having, I thought I might be going down that path as well when I became a paramedic in the military. I thought, that and the other dental hygienists also came to my mind as well, but I wasn't looking at that because it was a good paying job in Canada. Oh, that's awesome. So your husband's sister does that now. Is she still doing that? Because that's a good indicator of, kind of what to expect and all that kind of fancy jazz. Oh, that's kind of cool too. Get to work with all kinds of people in that role. Fun. Sorry, I'm just looking at something real quick here. Yeah, I think physical therapy would be fun. Yeah, so back on topic for a second, as we look to the end of this conversation, at least for now, because I think it comes back around. It will come back. It's one of those topics that'll come back around time and time again. So there's words that go along with shame, to me, and I made a list of them. There's words like I'm bad, or I'm broken, I'm inadequate, I'm a failure, I'm worthless, I'm a slave. How do you reverse those labels? When we do interviews for kids here at Rise Above, that's one of the first conversations we have with them is we say to them, you are not whatever somebody else has said to you. Whatever was just said to you in the meeting before you came here, forget it. Because usually the meeting they had just before they came to us is the expulsion hearing. And they're telling them all the bad things that they just did. And all they hear is I'm broken, I'm bad, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure. And we got to do our best to take those words and flip them, to make them that you're good, you are capable, you are more than enough. You can achieve. You're not a failure. Our job is to on that last one, the whole idea of slavery. Our job is to set them free. I think the real challenge for us in all of this is to remove the focus from us, and to put the 100% of the focus on the kid, to give them the opportunity to have the full expression, the full thought, the full iteration of their emotion that they're feeling. Because the challenge when they come in is they're scared. They don't know us. They don't know, a lot of people say a lot of things, but very few people follow through. And so that's our challenge, is how do we overcome other people's failures? Not just the kid we have in front of us who has had challenges, but one of the biggest challenges we face is when other people have come in thinking they're going to do good and then don't follow through. And create a name for anybody else that goes after them. Oh, you're just going to be like that other place. They said they were going to help me too. They said they were going to make it all better. And they didn't. They actually don't even know my real name. One of the most important things that we can do here for our kids is call them by their name. It's not, hey, bud. Yeah, I think that's one of the big things. Even just now, the thing I just had to step away for, nothing big happened. It wasn't a big deal. But you could tell the kid thought he did something wrong. And we had to make sure that we very clearly stated, you did nothing wrong. It's okay. Something he touched broke. It's not a big deal. You know, Jimot, it is. We get asked all the time to make this a residential program, but that's dangerous in itself. It would save a lot of the... it would save a lot of the pain, I think, that kids feel day to day. But I think a residential program in the long term interferes with the student's ability to practice it. We're too safe. I don't think that it's beneficial to that student to be with us for, say, a year or two, and never get a chance to practice with their family. So I just had a clinical psychologist at my house last night for coffee and just chatting. And she said something I won't soon forget. We were talking about what the issue is that Rise Above is trying to solve. And she proceeded to talk about the individual problems that each of these kids faces. And the other guest that I had in my house said, well, no, it's not. It's the breakdown of the family and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And I was in the kitchen actually just getting some snacks and stuff prepared and bringing tea out. Just listening to the conversation. And when I came back in and set it down, and I said, I want to come back to what you said. This lady's name was Betty. I said, I want to get back to what you said because you said something that's very important. And she used an analogy. And she used the analogy of whitewater rafting. And if you picture whitewater rafting, you have the rapids and you have the big boat. And you got to go down the rapids without flipping the boat. And she used that analogy in relationship to our kids and Rise Above, in the sense that Rise Above, our job is not to change the rapids, because the rapids aren't changeable. You can't. Doesn't matter how much you try, you're not going to change the fact that the rapids are the rapids. Our job is to help kids navigate the rapids. You understand the difference? The second person in that conversation tried to say to us, you need to change the rapids. Where Betty was saying, no, you need to teach the kids to navigate the rapids. Because the rapids are never going to change. They're never going to go away. It's always going to be there. And I think from a scope standpoint, Rise Above just isn't large enough as an entity, as an organism to impact the world in that way. So we have to focus on the individual. We have to be able to focus on the navigation of the brokenness that exists. Because we can't control the brokenness. We can control our response to it. That's it. What's that, Fawcett? Oh, I didn't even know you were here, buddy. Thank you for coming to the stream. It's funny, not ha-ha funny, of course, how something as innocuous as using someone's name can be so impactful. You know, buddy, I'm telling you, it's huge. Because who doesn't love to hear their name? Especially when it's somebody that you know or respect. Think of, I don't know, a famous actor or something coming up to you and saying, hey, Neil, how's it going? Right? And it'd be like, oh my gosh, he knows my name. He said my name. You know, think of these kids in Chaco's chat when they watch Jake. And Jake says, oh, thanks, Risk and Rush, for tuning in today. Thanks for your resub. And you're just like, oh my gosh, you can't believe you said my name on chat. It's so cool. Everyone else, kids will type all chat long. Just say my name. And those are the ones that get deleted. Nobody ever sees them with the mods. And I think, Nishimoto, I think it is a good analogy. You know, I think the rapids are a great analogy because, you know, it's like saying to change the weather. You can't. All you can teach people is how to dress for the weather. And so that's what we do every day. We work with these kids to be able to know how to go home and respond better. I'd also posit that the rapids can change, but never via the method that you can influence rapids will change over time. But they'll always be rapids. Yeah, 100%, Fawcett. 100%. I think that's a great addition to that analogy. And again, it's teaching them to almost roll with the punches. You know, it's teaching them that although dad is always going to do these things or say these things or not show up when he says he's going to show up or whatever the case is, that there are things that you can do to be safe. There's ways that you can take these things that happen and internalize them in a way that is healthy as opposed to destructive. There are ways to take the information and bring it to somebody like us here at Rise Above and talk about it and work through it and get to a point where we're safe with each other, that we can help overcome. Nick, what he's saying, not to steal from Cheers, but you want to go where people know your name. Oh, that's what you mean by jumping to Cheers. Wait a second. It's when you go to certain coffee shops like Vito's. Yeah, like Vic knows our names, right? It's awesome walking to that place. Certain restaurants, you want students to want to show up. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we you know, it's true about the whole Cheers thing. I mean, I don't know if some of the people in this room are old enough. Shimode, you might be. No, I'm sorry, Fawcett might be. Shimode, you're still just a baby. Yes. So, and remember, most of our kids come to us with no capacity left to deal with more adversity. They're at their wits' end. And when you're there, all you can do is flail and scream. There's a thing in the military that we have to be very careful of, and we talked about it a lot. And if you go back and look at old World War I's, read World War I stories, it's where it happened a lot. Because these guys got no relief from the front line. They'd be on the front line for months. Whereas in World War II and in modern battles, they're cycled through. They're not left at the front lines for a long time. And so the shell shock guys, right? They just get bombed and bombed and bombed and bombed and bombed. And after a while, because they're like, they're so fed up. They can't handle anymore. They will literally stand up out of the trenches and just start walking in no man's land. Those are our kids. The bombs are going off all around them all of the time. And they're so fed up with the bombs going off, they'll just stand up in the middle of no man's land. Just shoot me. Get it over with. I'm just so done with the noise. Or they're so confused, they don't even realize they're in no man's land and the danger that it's posing. I think that's a lot of our kids as well. You know, where they're coming in and they're so broken. They're so hurt. And so, you know, getting back to your point, Shimode, is we typically have these kids for 1 year. And I believe we have a big impact on the vast majority of these kids. And at breakfast this morning with the guy that I have breakfast with every Monday, we had this conversation actually, Shimode, where in most cases, my staff here and I are not going to see the reward of this 1 year. Most of these kids are not going to realize how this has benefited them until much later in life. Until they get to a point where they've got their own kids or they move out and they're out of high school or somewhere post Rise Above. Very few kids realize it while they're here. And this young lady that's returning tomorrow is a prime example of that. Where she knew she enjoyed it here. She knew she liked Veronica and I when she was here and the staff and whatnot. But it wasn't until she left here and she got into the situation she was in, where when she called, and you could hear it in her voice, where she was saying, Mr. Fernandez, I made a mistake. Can I come back? And you could hear it in her voice where she had the full realization of the value of being here. And for her, it came too late. Thankfully, she's getting a second chance. And I think that and I'm saying I think a lot because this is, you know, going through this in my mind today. All we're doing is as the analogy stated, is just helping the students to realize where the rocks are. This is the part you avoid. This is, when you get into this deep spot, you careful not to oversteer it. Don't dig too deep into the water. You could flip here. And when they do dig too deep and the raft flips, we're at least there to kind of rescue them, pull them out of the water and stick them back in the raft, All right, Dingo, take it easy, buddy. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your input today, man. Appreciate you always. Our goal isn't necessarily to hold their hands. This is what I want to say. Hey, what's up, Pickle? No duty yet. It's coming. It's coming. Wait for it. It's going to be, I'm waiting for some things to be approved by Twitch before I add the duty in there. But it's coming, Mitch. Don't you worry there, buddy. Thanks for popping in, man. Try to act a bit more mature, Pickle. Pickle can do what he wants. He's the pickle. But yeah, I think where we can get confused, Fawcett, is when we start thinking that we are doing the work. Because I think a lot of people, we're like, you ever go bowling with the bumpers in the gutters so you never actually get a gutter ball? But you still don't get a strike every time. It's funny, Asian Mode, everybody missed you. I don't know if you've realized that yet. But literally everybody that comes in says we've missed you. Not just I, but we have missed you. That's awesome. I love that. That's been like the 4th or 5th time that I've seen somebody say that to you. That's so cool. But I like the bumper bowling. All we do is make it a bit safer. It doesn't make it perfect. You're not going to get a strike every time, but at least you're going to hit some freaking pins. It might be 1, it might be 2. You might get a strike. But the best way I can say it is Rise Above is like that in the sense that you still have to throw the ball. You got to show up. You got to try to do some work. You got to participate in the stuff that's going on. And if you do those things, you're going to hit some pins. It may not be a strike every time, but the effort is going to pay off. And thank you, Shimon. You're pretty great too. But Pickle, I really appreciate you being here, buddy. And if no one, everybody that's here right now, I think is subscribed to OG. But if we can give the OG a shout out, Shimon, I'd appreciate that. He's a pretty solid guy. So. But I think that very often we miss the mark when we start to think that I'm going to fix this. Here, come here. Let me take my hand, and I'm going to take you, and I'm going to throw this this ball for you, or I'm going to take you down the rapids. I'm going to show you how it's done. I don't think that's the right way.
Okay. Everything's great. Everything is awesome.
Pickle, welcome to the gym, buddy. Diablo, thank you for the gifted sub to the OG Pickle. I'm very proud to have the OG Pickle as part of my gym. I heard that the OG actually lifts a little bit. Last I checked, the OG actually does not skip leg day. The OG has pushed some weights once in a while. Be known to lift. And OG, I've not soon forgotten our conversation about a meetup. I absolutely want to come and have a beverage out your way with you. But I think one of the challenges we walk into when we start having these conversations about students who are struggling, or people in our lives who are struggling, or people who meet one of these 3 categories of, being perfectionists, being overly critical of others, or people who just sabotage their own lives. I think that the most that we can do is just to continue to encourage, and that's what we are. Is we've got to get to a point where, no problem, Jamode. You take it easy, kiddo. I'm glad you stopped in for as long as you did today. It was great to have you back as part of the crew, not just in our stream, but in all the streams that you participate in. You're a blessing to many, kiddo. Yeah, let's do that. Don't you worry there, Diablo. But yeah, I think one of the big things for me is to make sure that we don't think that we're doing the work. We're not doing anything. We're guidance. We're helping to navigate. We're the map holders. Somebody else actually has to steer the ship, throw the ball, paddle the boat, whatever it might be. The mistake we often make is to think that we're the ones that do the work, and that's not the case. When we do the work, all we do is become an enabler at that point. Because we prove to them that, see, you can't do it. I have to do it for you. You're right all along. You are not good enough. And so it's important that they do the work, not us. All right, let's cut her there. I do want to talk about the new upcoming channel, Firearms, a little bit, just for 2 seconds. If you have not followed that yet, let's see if I can throw a chat here. Yeah, there it is. If you've not followed that yet, could you please, I need 5 more follows to get that to affiliate. Yeah, first follow Fawcett. Pretty amazing dude. I need 5 more follows to get that to affiliate, and then we're looking to get a full launch by the end of the month. Thanks, Pickle. Appreciate you, buddy. And then once we get that full setup done, hopefully we'll have all the accoutrements, all the stuff, camera frames, all that jazz done. I got somebody working on that now, so hopefully we'll have that by the end of the month up and running to a point where we can kick it out there, get it going, and get people excited for the content that's going to be in there. So I'm thankful for all of you that have already followed it and made yourselves a part of that. There is a Discord and a Twitter for it, so please go and click the links on that channel down below to follow along and to be kept up to date when things are happening. The Discord is just 2 channels at this point. There's nothing really going on there, but it'll have questions for you about stuff that is artwork and stuff that's being done. So if you go put your input on the artwork that's being put in there that a buddy of mine's doing as things go along, that would be helpful so that I don't have to make all these decisions on my own. It can be community driven. That'd be hugely helpful. So, but yeah, I think that's going to be it for me today, guys. I got a couple of new students I want to go spend some time with, and I want to prepare for my old friend coming back tomorrow and get ready for her. So I appreciate you all stopping in and sharing this topic with me on shame and guilt. And I hope that we came to a place of understanding where we know that shame is something that is internal generally, and something that we drive when it comes to overcoming it. So the best thing to do, I think most often, is to put yourselves in situations that are hard and to, prove to yourself that you are capable. Try changing the brakes in your car. Try going to a batting cage and swinging a bat once or twice until you hit one at least. Talk to that person you never thought you could talk to. Give that speech you never thought you could give. Right? Become a partner on Twitch like OG Pickle's about to. Do that thing you never thought you could do, and just do it. Do it for the best. Not just because. Never forget who you are in the process. You're accepted because of who you are, not because of what you can do. I appreciate all you guys. Appreciate you showing up, guys and girls. I shouldn't just be using general language, but you know what I mean. Appreciate all you folks. Thankful you're here today. Stay tuned. If you see me on the other channel, please just drop a lurk for me. I need to keep the averages up. As long as 3 or 4 in the chat, it's all I care about. Hopefully by, like I said, the end of next week, we'll have affiliate and we'll be good to go. So thank you all again. Know that I will be back next Monday. Topic to be determined. I'm not sure if I'll have a guest or not. I'm hoping I'll have a guest. You think I hit the 5? Well, let's have to go have to. I think we'll have to go have a see. Well, I got you on the lines. Let's go see. Because I want to know. I got to know. Because I'd love to be able to see with all you folks here. Where's my... There he is. We are at followers. 49. Unless something has changed, we are at 49. We are 1 away. That's awesome. Whoever just did that. Who do I got here? I got Professional Mayonnaise. Who just did it? JJ's Coot. JJ Scoot 4. Professional Mayonnaise. Insightful Nick. Thank you, Insightful Nick. And John Marsh 81. Hit it momentarily. Come on, 50. Come on, 50. Come on, 50. I just think it's awesome that, we have a community. So Pickle, Diablo, Fawcett. And I think Fawcett was you or Batman that said this a while ago. We have an amazing community of people that not only want to succeed themselves, but that want to ensure that everybody that we're connected with is also succeeding. It's this cycle of giving. It's incredible. And I'm just blown away by it. With something like this. So, let's see. We're still at 49. We'll get there. But, okay, I'm going to get going. I appreciate all you guys for being a part of this and for continuing to give back. I want to raid Air Max as usual if we can. Let's see if we can do because Air Max is a good dude. I don't know if you all know that or not. Is Air Max even still streaming right now? Let's pick a live channel. Air Max, where are you? There you are. All right, guys. You guys have a great day. We're gonna go raid Air Max. Please drop some emotes in there. Let them know that that we love them. We just got 50. Did we? 50. Yay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. That's one down. Have a good one. Love y'all.